Okay, that took a while. It was circling. I think I'm ready. Um, we are. I'm going to show you how useful this tool is on. It's part of Backgammon. It's part of Heroes, but it's Backgammon Studio, and some of you might not even know what it is. So when you the URL backgammonstudio.com. So I'm in already, and what I used to do is play either checker quiz or cube quiz. And what I thought would be helpful from more of a maybe intermediate or advanced perspective is to go show you guys how just with any position, checker play or cube action, you can illustrate lots of general principles that are at play in all the positions. Fuck, please don't slow down. So you can take any position and you can illustrate the main principles that are going to be at play in any backgammon position. And I think that's really helpful to give us an idea of how to break down any position. Without, I'm not going to say without further ado, that's a disgusting phrase. But what we will do first is play checker quiz. Let's see how it goes. I mean, I'm kind of winging it a bit, and the title is a bit of a bold claim. So I clicked on play random, and there are lots of different tracks. This is called. Let me just check if the arrows are working, or how quickly they'll. Seems like it's working, and it hasn't crashed it yet. Okay, so I'm going to use the arrows. Um, and it just has in each track it has a number of problems. I don't know how many, but enough, and you carry on until you get one wrong. And that's basically it. This one's called homeboard hitter, so this will involve hitting, but I'm not going to treat the category as being important. All I'm going to do is try and solve the position and show you what principles are at play. So, well, this is obviously an endgame position. It's probably not a great one to start with. So, specific things going on. We notice we have this checker back here. And we notice immediately that we can, that basically we're going to hit this guy here and switch to the 5 point. But so how are we going to, we notice also, God, this is like pressurized. We notice also that this checker here is vulnerable to being hit with this one, a 4. And this one isn't in direct range. So I immediately don't know if this is even going to work. So once we know, of course, that we're going to... Screen is all over the place. Oh no. Oh no. Once we know that we're going to... I didn't even look at the options. Once we know that we're going to... Where are the fucking arrows? Where are they? Hopefully get them back. If not, stream is failing. Stream has failed. I don't care. Where is it? Where are you? Can I do this without arrows? Maybe. Okay, so Actually, what I'm going to do is try a different training track because this is too specific and too endgamey, and it doesn't illustrate. It's not going to illustrate general principles that well, which is what we want. I don't know exactly what any of these ones mean. Unblocker, although he describes it, but I'm too lazy to read. Home, should we try home cleaning, or is that too specific? What, maybe try unblocker. Okay, this is more of a is more adequate position to illustrate general principles. So before we even see that we're going to hit with a 5, first thing I look at is, guess what? Are we ahead in the race or not? Even though I'm going to hit whatever. So what we're trying to do, if we're ahead in the race, of course, is escape this checker, the one that's on the bar. And so in deciding, oh man, come on, in deciding where we bring this checker in on the bar, we're basically asking the question, which is most likely to be able to escape our checker. Now, I know this is probably obvious, but just to break down a position to its very basics, and it soon becomes apparent. I still want those arrows. That if we come in on the 20 point, then we're going to have to break the 10 point. And the reason why that comes back to the general principle of wanting to escape is because if we break the 10 point, then of course we could get hit and it could effectively nullify that escape completely. God, I didn't know what I got myself into. Where is this fucking thing? Where is it? Screens? Okay, I can't get the arrows back. So what we can do is maybe look at it from that perspective. So hopefully not to show that I'm talking complete rubbish. What, as far as the general ideas are concerned, we are still trying to identify which move gets the checker out and escape because we're ahead in the race. So it seems to us most obviously that we're going to hit and then probably have to split the 10 point. So if we do this, we see that it's the thing that we can do that's most likely that enables us to bring the checker out. So I still want the arrows back. Trying to think if there's anything else I can say that's sensible, but I don't know if there is. Okay, so breaking the 8 point was better, but still, that's not the point. The point is to try and look at these positions, to try and identify and see the general principles at work. So I see. So it's probably called unblocker because it's about whether or not we break the prime. Okay, so here, this is not. There's not really much that you can illustrate here because we're just going to come in with a 4, and it's a decision as to whether or not we break the 9 points or play this checker to the 2 point. And this is very painful. Yeah, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. A lot fucking harder. All right, well, maybe let's just play one. I'll allow myself not to give an explanation, but I'll probably do this. Keeping the 9 point. Okay, so here maybe what we can talk say something sensible about the position. So even though we're on the bar, we notice that we have this 4 prime or developing 4 prime in front of 4 of white's checkers. First of all, I forgot to notice where the cube was in the last position. So we've already cubed. So seeing that we can see we've got this open 7 point, then we know that we're trying to make it. And then we notice that we can't, clearly, because we didn't roll the right number. And we are trying... Oh, shit. This is so hard to do. We are trying to, in some ways, identify the move that most likely preserves our opportunity to make the 7 point, to make the prime. Now, if, although it's not on the board, the first thing I saw was just not hitting, then we would have to play the checker into the 20 point and play 7 to 5 and then not have a chance of making our 7 point. So at the very least, hitting the checkers, although it's unclear what the consequences are, gives us a chance of, it keeps our checker on the 7 point there and allows us to build the prime. So, sorry, not that. Opponent's going to come in, then it preserves our initial objective of on the position, which is to enable us to make the 7 point, or try to make it. So on that basis, I would just probably hit these 2 checkers, which looks like this. Okay, I don't really know why. Again, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm being so hard on myself. It doesn't really matter why some positions are in there, because it didn't seem like anything else was reasonable. But again, I'm just trying my best, do something different, try and draw out the salient features of any position. Some are obvious, like this is pretty obvious. So we are going to be leaving a direct shot anyway. And I think what we need to try and see is, one, we want to try and reduce gammons. And 2, bearing in mind that we can reduce gammons, what's the move that we can make which gives us the most increased likelihood of winning the game. And I mean, it's pretty obvious that playing 13-7 is the best way of doing that, and there doesn't seem to be any good reason for doing anything else. So this position, not so great in illustrating general principles, is kind of already clear what's going on. We're going to be losing the game now. However, if we can visualize, and I wish I had the arrows, if we come in on the 24 point and we've slotted the 7, if somehow a miracle happens and we don't get hit on the 1 point, we can see that one move later we might be able to make the 7 point. And if we can make the 7 point, then we might be able to see that if white eventually comes out from his 5 point, we might be able to point on him and putting him on the bar, have a chance of escaping and getting out from behind that 5 prime. So don't tell this is wrong. Okay. I don't care. I guess there's a good reason, but it's still the ideas that underpin the position are still valid. Okay. We can carry on with this same one. Okay, so this seems to be, again, like these ideas of whether or not we hit and have to stay back and primed. If we hit on the 24 point, then we're stuck. If we hit on the, if we come in on the 23 point where we want to come in, then we fail to hit the checker on the 24. So not such again, unfortunately, not a position that's so instructive in general dynamics in all positions, which is what I'm looking for. Sometimes a position is just like this one. All you're going to do is look at what the alternatives are and eliminate moves that that are worse than others. So, for example, what I mean is if you come in and you hit on the 24, you immediately see that you've got no good 2. So that doesn't help in illustrating what's really going on in the position. So as far as what I would actually do, I would probably just come in and play 2-1, and this is less important, but just to illustrate why this could work. I mean, it's kind of obvious that if he misses, if he just comes in with a 4, we don't really need to cover immediately. We can come out with a 5 and a 6, and that's how we're going to win the game. But again, it's about the alternative being not very good. And again, this is more also an alternative. I mean, so, or perhaps you can draw out general ideas in the position here, which are, or it's more difficult with prime positions, which are that if you break the prime, you want to keep the 2 anchors, then how likely is it that you will be able to contain white and stop him from moving? And if you do that, I don't know why I said that, actually. That's kind of nonsense. I guess the question is if you, well, yeah, I guess that is what's going on. All right, let me just not say anything anymore. But I mean, it seems like you have to just put them all up on the 23 point and hope that you roll a 6. So if you do anything different, you're still hoping to roll a 6, and you've reduced your block from 5 to 4, which doesn't seem to make any sense. Um, and then there is some kind of neat, weird stuff that you can do here. So again, like trying to go back to this wild claim that I made in the thumbnail about you can solve positions but it's hard to talk about exactly how you do that. But more again, in terms of the general shit that's going on, all right, let's. Okay. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, I guess you have a six to come out, but I'm not going to like post-mortem it. I mean, I'm just going to try and. I didn't even get the second best play. So here, this is a much easier position to talk about, I feel. Again, it doesn't really matter whether you get the answer right. That's my get out clause. But these positions are about, or this position is good because it shows you where you want to put the checkers. And that's a very, very important principle in backgammon. And I think it's fair to say that you want to put this checker that's on the bar on the 18 point. Why is that true? Because if you put it on the 18 point and things go your way, then you can escape it or make the 18 point. The alternatives are clearly very, very different, but you can look at it from the other way around. If you don't do that, what are your chances of winning the game? Well, it's not that you'll never win the game, but you have to accept that you're always going to last go. You're going to need to do it this go. And is it sensible to do what you could have done last go, to put it off when you're going to need to have to do it anyway? I can hear myself like speak. It's awful. Trying to like find the right words. And the reason why you might not do it, put the checker where they are, is because it's too dangerous. And it's a rough term for just looking at the dice rolls that your opponent could roll and seeing whether they put you in a much, much worse position than they would relative to you staying there, and also relative to the gain that you make from making the play which puts the checkers where they belong. So having said that, I don't know what I would do here actually. I think it's kind of so that you can also look at the score as well, or should look at the score. Unfortunately, the score complicates it, and it gives us a bit of a too much of a clue. I mean, the fact that we're losing the match by so much means that our opponent, if we make a risky play for us, can't really capitalize it on that much. Capitalize on it that much because he's not incentivized to cube, being so far up in the match. So perhaps that's what makes, again, it doesn't really matter, but perhaps that's what makes going to the 18 good enough. So I think in summary, what we see is there's no like easy way of, there's no things that we can just immediately draw out the position which will give us the answer, but we can start to build up general thrusts and general things that are going on the position that will give us clues to try to make the right play. So this is not the right play because you can tell when you click it, it doesn't. but it's close. I mean, it's not heinously bad to go to the 18 here, but it's probably, like I said, the risk. So trite to speak in terms of risk and reward, but the risk and the reward is so not in your favour. I'm so glad that there's at least 3 people watching this. It's really tough, you can hear, for me to do. I wonder how other people would cope with this. Yeah, so you can see that the risk of those very, very punishing rolls probably just slightly outweighs the reward of putting your checkers where you want to. But again, what I'm trying to do is show that the general principle outweighs everything. Once you see what you want to do, that gives you your basis, rather than just like, oh, maybe pattern recognition, or I don't know, I'll just do anything, or I just completely don't know, so I'll pick one. So that was a nice position, I feel. Should we try with this unblocker thing? Okay, this is the same idea as before. Are we going to break the 6 point? Now, what often happens in backgammon positions, I suppose, like chess, is that you look at the position. If you're experienced enough, you just see, and that's not helpful to explain to someone less advanced. Like, you just see the parameter, or what's at stake, and what's at stake, or what the idea is here is clearing the 6 point. Like, do you clear the 6 point so that when you have to play some 4s, when you roll a 4, you don't have to play one of the 4s from the 6 point and then possibly leave a shot. So that observation is not helpful to, say, teaching someone who's less experienced, because in this, I'm relying on my brain just picking it up immediately. Hi, Alex. Maybe Alex can chime in. So basically, to get to it the other way round, and just to calculate and to see that the 4s leave a shot on, if you rolled, like, if I was to be hit and then roll a 1-4 and I'd kept my 6 point, I would be breaking the 6 point and leaving another blot on the 6 point. To be able to work that out without knowing it already is really tricky. And perhaps that's already obvious, but I thought I'd state it. So the idea is, are you going to give up your 6 point so you don't have to do that, don't have to face that eventuality? And it seems to me the answer is yes. So I haven't got the time to work out all the dice rolls here, but probably yes. And then the question is, are you going to come up to the 23? Well, probably. So what we can say in this position is, we can see that it's clearly a very easy observation. It's very important to be up against the edge of your opponent's prime versus not. Like, if you come in on the 24, you're suffering a lot, because anything that doesn't have the 6 or the 1-5 is not coming out, which is so important, versus anything that's basically, and it obviously depends whether your opponent hits you or not, but let's say, assume that your opponent doesn't hit you here, you have all the 5s as well, which is a huge gain. So we're gonna say that we're gonna always try and see what we want to do in the position, and see whether we are able to do it, taking into considerations of how dangerous it is, or what could go wrong, what could be a consideration for just holding back a little bit. Now, we notice that if we do this, we have to leave a gap, not a gap, but we have to leave a bald 4 point. And what might be the consequences of that? Well, at the moment, not so bad, because we have some 2s. If we roll a 2, we'll be able to play it from the 5 point. We're always looking at whether we will be able to roll certain dice rolls and not leave shots in the process. So just on a very quick analysis, it looks like we're okay to do this. So without going over it too much, luckily there's no time. Maybe we would go for this, and then we've got to look at the score and where the cube is. Well, we're down in the score, so we're probably more incentivized to make the play that wins us the game. There's probably other moves that I haven't really considered. So you could break the 5 point, actually. Sorry, not this. That's a different idea. But let's say, can you come in on the 23? 1, 2. No, you can't. There could be a move where if you have more than 4 ones, you could come in on the 23 and break the 5 point, which might be something that helps you not leave shots in the future. But this, I have to say, lastly, this is not very helpful for the position, but this is suspicious. There's something suspicious about doing this. This doesn't seem right to me. So it is wrong. I've already clicked. So I guess, yeah, I overthought it, but it's still, all the observations are valid. Like, it's very clear that you can come in on the 23 and, well, it's not that clear actually, I suppose, but it's fairly clear that you can tolerate being hit and being forced to leave a shot, because the upside is that you get to keep your board. So I kind of didn't get that anywhere near right, but still, what's important is to get the parameters of the position. I wonder if, I don't think it necessarily matters what. Okay, no, maybe not this position. See, if we don't want anything to be too tactical, I'm trying to read. Alex is making some very helpful comments. Gammon Ghosts. Does it go down here? I think there are far more. Or should we try and play random? Okay, this is a fairer position. So normal position. We've got some anchors. We've got a sense of a holding game, and score is 0-1. Okay, it's called hold up checker, I guess. So it's about whether you hit or not. So in these positions, these are very good general principles. It's all about the race, right? Now, we're just trying to bring the game home. Let's say that that's an incontrovertible truth. We're just trying to bring these checkers in from 13 without having to engage with our opponent or leave any shots. So, on that basis, we could say that the first play that we see that does that is just perfectly adequate. But then there are some further questions that come into mind. If we do this, how likely are we to be able to follow up and play safe and bring the game home? So we're going to assume that being 42 pips up in the race, that we're not going to have a problem winning the race. But what we're going to try and identify is whether or not, if we do this move, are we going to be able to maintain our safety? And the answer is, I'm just going to look at it very quickly, probably. Yes, maybe. So that is a very nice way of showing what a principle that will appear in quite a number of positions, about which is just bringing home safely, is shown up nicely in this position. And then the other moves, like, there are some nuances. So, for example, in some situations, you do want. Why are we slotting the 4 point? Because later on, we won't be able to bring the position home unless we have the 4 point. It will be unsafe, so we need to force the safety now. I doubt this is one of those positions. And I shouldn't be cheating by going over the moves. But these two here are the alternatives. Now, you might do something like this. You might hit even when you're going to bring it safely home. Why? Because it increases your race lead at little extra danger. If there was not much extra danger, it would increase your race lead, and it might increase your gammons. Here, it's not going to matter towards gammons. Gammons are going to hardly increase at all, him having the 20 point and the 18 point. And here, it looks like it's the opposite of the case, that by hitting, you are just about as safe as you would be if you don't hit. Well, you can see that if we hit, then we leave these two blocks exposed on the 12 and 13. So when he comes in and he will have 5s and 6s to hit us. And so even though he's got a blocking board, we don't want that. So, I mean, on that basis, again, I don't care if I get the right move. What's the start of the position? I'm just saying that we need to identify that that's what's going on in the position. I could be, if I'm wrong about that, then I'm wrong about the whole, about all concepts in backgammon, and you know, I need to give up and I don't understand, and possibly my understanding is, all of our understanding is limited, but I believe that that's what you need to identify in positions. So I might go for this. It's not the right move. Or is it? No, I don't think it is. It stopped. Won't click. Not sure what's happening. I would like to get one right, just for pride. Okay, it's not letting me click. It's not the right. Was it? Yes, it was right. Okay, it was right. Thank God. Okay, we got Adam. This is like, I'm trying my best, guys. It's really tough. Okay, so what's going on in this position here that we can speak about in terms of general principles? So I think we can sort of say that thing about the similar idea to last time, even though it's a very different position. We're basically trying to bring these checkers from the 23 point all the way out and round, and there's a long way to go. And if that's true, that we want to bring our checkers out, then we don't really want to get hit, because being hit will put more checkers back. And clearly it's worse to have to bring more checkers out than less, or than fewer. So, but clearly we see we can hit, which is going to be good, because that's going to send our opponent back, but it's also going to effectuate our movement of those back checkers. And I don't know what the and was. And it will, yeah, and the and is it will protect us from having to lift up this block on the 8 point, which we don't want to lift because it will be a landing spot. So this is a quite individual, this position. What we're seeing is that hitting on the 21 point enables us to keep the checker on the 8 point so that we can make it next go. So we're probably looking to position the checkers in such a way that we give ourselves a maximum number of numbers that cover the checker on the 8 point. So we're going to hit. I don't see, there are some numbers that don't want to hit, but they don't seem like they make any sense whatsoever. The score is like 0, 1 to 7, so that's not going to make any difference. So we're going to hit, and then it's a question of what gives us most covers. Probably that is a question of that. There could be other things. So we also like to come up to the 20 point, which this does after hitting, just because it unblocks our checker even more. If we leave the checker back on the 18, we get to cover with a 6-4. If we bring it up to there, we get to cover with a 6-3 and a double 3. But then double 3 might make the 4 point anyway. So just to recap, what we're looking at is I think maximum number of dice rolls that make the 8 point, and I'm not sure, 100% sure that's the idea, but I would probably go for this. I hope that gives a tenable, not just like randomly. Okay, this is not right either. It's not letting me click. Okay, too close to call. So it didn't like, it came up with more solutions, but what did we choose? We chose 18. Okay, it gave us some leeway there. So the best play was. Oh, okay. Breaking. I mean that's fine, but not fine. Completely an idea that I missed completely. So it wasn't true that we were trying to make the 8 point completely. It wasn't completely true we were trying to make the 8 point. We were trying to make the 8 point kind of, but also trying to increase our number of builders so that we could make the inner board points. And I just don't know. I didn't see that because I'm probably doing a lot of talking, and it's hard to overthink it and talk. Yeah, effectuate. I don't know why I. So next one. So what's going on here? I mean, this is pretty obvious. We want to make the 5 point and we can't. Is it worth saying why we want to make the 5 point? Probably not. It's so obvious. We just get to protect that checker that our opponent who's on the 2 point or the 23 point, if we don't make the 5 point, it will give him a way of escaping the prime by hitting, which is clearly really, really good for him and really bad. So then the question becomes, although I'm not even sure it's a question, but I guess it is the question, are we going to leave the checker there on the 5 point? And I wasn't looking at the answers. Or are we going to risk it for a biscuit? And I think the answer is, what are the general principles at play here? If we play, we can even play 6-5, 6-4, clearing the 6 point. If we leave an opening in our position, as in if we pick the checker up, how likely are we to be able to come home safely? Versus if we don't do it, and we come home safely, what is the risk of leaving it there? So I think this is quite a simple position to analyse. Plus it's not Crawford, it's post Crawford. And I think the answer is, I mean, I'm very wary of committing, you can see, but I'm very much in favour of leaving it there. You could even split the 10 point to give yourself more covers, but I'm not sure if that would be helpful trying to protect a 10-6 lead. So what we're going to do is play 18-16, 23-22 just to keep the block count down to a minimum, get daylight for this checker on the 23. But the idea is we're identifying that we want to keep the checker on the 5 point so that we can cover it. So can we get a 3 in a row? Probably not. Okay, so it wasn't, but I mean, it's really close. Maybe this is for gammons that you would do this. So clearly we identify what's at stake. Maybe that's the easy bit. So what I'm saying is not helpful. But it just so happens that at this particular score, the risk is too big. I don't know how you get. I feel maybe the best way of doing this stream. Okay, so how do we get the no, we win fewer games by making the play that keeps the checker there. Okay, never mind. I think this is a good. I'm the top scorer here, so I'm qualified to talk about this. Al Salik, Mark Van Dant, we know all these. FB's Fernando. Okay, so I think this is a good training track to illustrate these general principles. So what's going on here? Like, what would we say if we could escape and we rolled a 6-2? Would we escape? Probably. So what does that help us identify? It helps us identify, probably, and I'm not sure if it's true actually, but do we do want to escape? Because if we see that the alternative to not escaping is like breaking the 8 point, and then our opponent might have trouble playing something, but then what are we going to do for our next trick? Anyway, we can't escape. It's irrelevant. So, but it's good to know. Well, it's not irrelevant. It's good to know what you're trying to achieve in the position. So let's say we do X, whatever it might be, 8364. What are we going to do next? What are we doing next in this position? We don't really want to break the midpoint when our opponent's facing down on us from the 18 point. So it seems like our next trick is we are going to go, even though our opponent's got lots of builders on us, even though it doesn't seem like we're down in the race. That seems very suspicious then. So we're in a really nasty position. So in summary, what I'm saying is, even before making this play, we have to decide, like, how is the game going to proceed? And you can see that I have no fucking idea, because I'm not sure whether or not we're meant to be coming off the 22 point. I mean, yes, what we're hoping for is we bring the checkers in from the 8 point now, and then we don't roll a 6, and we can play in board, and then our opponent has to do something. But it's worrying because that might not happen. Anyway, match score, we're trailing 4-7. Cube is... no one's cubed yet. Our opponent's probably going to cube us next go, actually. And to speak more precisely about the position, it is going to be about, are we going to make the 4 point with the 2? This is more specific, I suppose, that it gets more tactical. Or are we going to bring both checkers in from the 8 point and not leave a shot? So it's about whether or not we leave a shot. And I can't really think clearly when I'm doing all this talking, but I guess again, it doesn't really matter what's right. But I think to cater for the fact that our opponent could roll some 6s that leave a shot, we'll probably go for the move that makes the board now at the cost of leaving a 1 shot, although 1s aren't going to play that well for him otherwise. But anyway, you can see how much you can say this is not the right play. You can see how much you can say, oh, it is the right play. How much you can say about a position, and hope that it is the right thing to play. Greetings, hi Mei-san, and hope that it is the right thing. It turned out to be very clear to make the board, but you can see, even you can take the position and not even have to solve the problem, which is how do you play the 2-1. You can look at it and try and draw out general themes and ideas, or principles. I don't know why I don't want to repeat the word, I guess, about the position, what's really going on in the position. So these positions are very good ones to talk about, because they're common, they're middle game positions, and they're not too developed, as in they're not end games, and they illustrate, they're able to show us what is important in the position, from what the actual position is, what the state of the position is. You can draw out what is important in the position. I'm sorry to keep repeating it. I'm just trying to refine it as I go along. So you look at the race, first of all, just as a clue, like we're down in the race, so we want contact. That's a huge principle to start to work with. So on that basis, you're going to say to yourself, well, I want to leave the checker on the 24 back there. And then what else do I want to do? Well, if you want contact, you're going to have to start to build a board, quick, smart. So you build your board as quickly as possible. But then, of course, I haven't really been looking at the position properly. You can see it would be easy if that were the case, possibly, but we can hit. So now it becomes a little bit more tricky, because we have to decide whether or not we hit. Now, I guess one way of looking at this is not to say where do we hit or not, which is one way of framing the question. Another way of framing the question is to decide, it's sort of the same thing. I know it sounds a bit fancy, but do we want to send our opponent back? And it seems to me clearly to be, yes, we do want to send our opponent back. Why? Because we're down in the race. Why else would we like to send our opponent back? because if we send our opponent back, he's likely not to hit us, so we're not going to suffer too much. And I guess it's just those two things. We need to hit him, and we're not risking too much. The third thing, I guess, is the alternative to hitting him is we can create a position. I mean, there are no non-hitting plays, so that gives us too many clues. But if, let's say that we were deluded, and we could do something else, is building the board now going to be anywhere near as good as hitting? And the answer is, well, we can see the answer is no, because it's not on there. But we might not be able to hit ever again. So we have to hit now. And then this question now, it becomes about like the specifics of this question, which aren't really relevant, is when we hit, where do we want to leave the checkers? And those considerations are about where are we going to leave them to balance our chances of building a block and a board, maximizing our chances to build a prime and a board in future versus the chances of being hit. So let's say it doesn't have, well, it doesn't really have, I mean, it doesn't have it does have this play. So this is the first play that pops out to me. So we hit, but we also keep our checkers on the 9 and the 10 point, thereby maximizing our builders. This is so difficult. Hey Jim, hey Son, why don't you highlight each move and discuss its merits or lack thereof? Okay, thank you. Is that better? So I'm trying to go through the general reason why I'm not, because I'm trying to draw out the general principles. If you'll allow me to do that, then I will highlight what was your approach? Discuss the merits or lack thereof. Okay, well, I'm doing that now. So hopefully it is legitimate. You find it a legitimate endeavor for me to use the position to illustrate some general principles of backgammon, which I hope are really helpful. Maybe a bit too abstruse or obscure, but I believe that if you approach the game in that way, then you're going to improve. But anyway, so get down to the merits of this position are the increased builders. The merits of this position are, I think, anti-merits. I don't see any value of coming up to 23, so I think that could be a red herring. You prefer the checker to be on the 24. So what do you gain by putting the checker on the 23? Maybe you gain by keeping the checker on the 11 point rather than on the 10 point, which is where you'd move the 1 in this one here. So I think immediately I would say that the top move is better than this move. Move number 3, you gain safety. You get to not get hit with 5, 4, and 3, 6, but you lose on the builders. This one you gain enormously, which sounds like what far-flung, but it's enormously if it works. You get to put checkers in such a place where it's very, very likely when your opponent doesn't hit you back that you will make the 5 point. Not only that you will improve your position enormously. So you gain that, but of course you lose hugely when your opponent rolls a 5 or a 3, 6, and like a 5, 6 of course hits twice. So you lose massively. And again, these things, I know it's sort of embarrassing saying they're really obvious. They're things that backhand players know, but maybe it's helpful for some people. I mean, just Jim's feedback was to do it like this, and I will do it like this. But I think the importance, as I say, of doing this exercise is to show the general principles that can be eked out from any backgammon position. So I would say that this one's too dangerous. What about this 5th one here? This is less dangerous and puts the builders in very nice positions. And now I didn't expect to be liking a play as much as my 11-9-9-8. As much as my this play. The reason this play is nicer is, well, because let's click on this again. This play spreads checkers on 4 points. This play spreads checkers on 5 points. Not only is the checker on the checker on the 7 point a builder, but it can actually be left in where it is if it doesn't get hit and used to make that point, as you can make the 9 points. So again, it's not important. I probably would do this. So I'm just going to click. Okay. Completely wrong about the 24-23. I have no idea, other than that you like to keep the checker back on the 11 point, why it would be right to come up to the 23 point. What I didn't factor in is that maybe we need, so one of the other things that's always a factor in backgammon is looking at the diversity or duplication rate of your dice rolls. So if whether or not it's if you're not using a 3 on one side of the board, then that might be a reason to put your checker from the 24 on the 23 point to give you a 3 that you don't have otherwise. But I don't see that you're not going to be using a 3. I don't see that you're not going to be using the 3 to on the attacking side of the board. So I would probably not have done this. I mean, I didn't do this. Okay, next. So this is well, I don't want to categorize it, but what are we trying to do here? Well, we're just trying to come home. So one thing that we can do is like ask ourselves, what role did we really want? Maybe that can make it, I don't know why this helps, and it shouldn't, but make it clearer what the disadvantage or the impediment, the downside of the position is. The downside is the 18 point, and what we really wanted to roll was like 5-5 or 4-4 to just get the checkers off the 18 point. There are other considerations. So knowing that that is our goal, we know that basically having rolled this 5-1, we're not achieving our primary goal at all. And this position isn't about that. This position is going to be about, are we going to leave a shot? I don't think we are, but I could be wrong. Are we going to keep the prime to leave a shot? So I don't really care so much about this position. But it helps to, I guess it helps if you know that your goal is to bring the checkers round from the 18, and then as long as you're not, let's say we go with this non-hitting play, as long as you're not destroying your position too much, this keeps that objective alive. Why? Because you're not going to get hit. Now, this is not by no means conclusive, but that can help you come to the conclusion that doing something like this, which the advantage of is keeping the 8 point, which is part of a prime, that it can help you come to the conclusion that this wouldn't be good, because you give the possibility of being hit, and then the way that you achieve your objective now can't be achieved by just bringing the checkers from the 18 home, because then you're going to have a checker back. Then it's going to be much more difficult to bring your position home. So on that basis, maybe we should just go for this. Although then we say to ourselves, okay, this is the move that achieves the objectives. What are the downsides? So the downsides are that we won't be able to come home. Why might we not be able to come home? Because the position is just too inflexible. I don't really like using that, but in concrete terms, what we mean is that there are going to be too many dice rolls in the immediate upcoming roll, and maybe in the sequence of 2 rolls, which are likely to leave a shot. And again, this is probably blindingly obvious, but I think it's helpful to be conscious of these things. So we're asking ourselves, can we play safely from this position? So let's say our opponent stays back. What if we roll a 6-1? It's going to leave a shot. What if we roll a 5-1? It's going to make the 2-point, won't leave a shot. What if we roll a 4-1? It'll make the 2-point. What if we roll a 3-1? Well, it's safe, but it's ugly. Blah, blah, blah. So again, backgammon is complicated. I mean, it's not like we know the answer having done that exercise, but that's all I'm going to say about this position. I just don't know what the right move is here. Okay, it was right to do this. Okay, that's nice that I got this right. I'm going to go and get a cup of tea because I'm exhausted. My voice is... Hi, Tim. I really wanted to do this because like on Wednesday I saw on Facebook that Daniel Naroditsky had basically committed suicide, and I was just... yeah, I really felt for him. And then I've watched his streams before, and I watched them, and I just thought, what a commitment to expressing and explaining ideas. And I felt, I mean, of course, he's way advanced. I mean, it's not only is chess way more difficult, but he was doing this at a very early age, and he's much younger than me. But I saw in him some sort of commitment that I feel I have to really breaking down the position. And so I guess that explains why I'm not doing the normal stream and just doing this. And even if I am a bit wrong about some of the ideas, it's the ideas that are crucial, and it's the ideas that enable you to master the game. If you've got the ideas wrong, then you can say to yourself, I've got the ideas wrong. The idea here is actually this. Or if you've got the priorities of the ideas wrong, as in you misevaluate one objective versus another, then you can hopefully say to yourself, well, I've misevaluated, I've over prioritized something. And I thought that rather than do a stream which doesn't allow me to do that, I can hopefully show you what isn't completely impenetrable, but I'm finding it's very difficult to talk about these things cogently, and it does require such a mastery of English. And if you watch his streams, and if you watch other chess streamers, and actually if you watch Justin, who's extremely articulate, you see that some people are better at just speaking and conveying the ideas than others. And I can be good, but sometimes something gets in the way. But I believe it's something I want to do, and it's a valuable endeavor. Anyway, I'll be back. Okay. Oh no. Yeah, so these holding positions are really instructive. Um, and they do involve these decisions about, you can, well, maybe not immediately see, about coming off the anchor or not coming off the anchor. Um, but you can look at this position in exactly the same way as we looked at all the other or the previous holding game positions, um, which is that these checkers on the 20, they want to come around. That's how, like, basically how you win the game. You get them round to the 6, and then you bring all your other guys in, and then you bear them off. Clearly, in practice, what happens is we need landing spots. Um, and so, in a way, you realise, firstly, that the cat has to go. The cat has to go. You're too annoying. You're too annoying. Go away. I am incredibly sensitive to noise. I don't know why. Probably because I'm mad. So you realise that leaving anchors are, I would say, like the primary um, urge is to leave the anchor, but most of the time we can't allow ourselves to submit to that urge because it's too dangerous. So in some ways, like, you kind of want to play 20 to 11, which is what a beginner might play, because it's like putting the checkers where you want them. If that works, if it succeeds, which is like never gonna do, then you come much closer to winning the game. What is the value of seeing that? Well, it can help in some counterintuitive scenario situations where you end up seeing what you need to do and you end up just going for it because you can, or because of the score. Anyway, so we realize we want to do it, but we realize we can't. There's no play that comes off the anchor that's like safe, and like we cheat. Obviously, we don't want to see the answer, but no surprise, there's no play that comes off the anchor. Therefore, how do we then achieve the objective of, like, let's say, being able to put our checkers in positions where we get landing spots, and or where we don't leave them strewn about and get hurt and get pointed on. And I'm trying to be clever, but there's only two things that I really see. So nuanced a detail in that dichotomy, or those two parameters, is that we can see that our opponent is going to make the 7 his 18, our 7 point his 18 point. We're not going to be able to hit, so he's going to make that. And the fact that he will and can make that means that, what does it mean? Well, the first thing, I'm not sure if this is true, but it means that, okay, let me just put something on the board. And now we try not to look at this in isolation. We say to ourselves, our opponent will probably, if he rolls, actually, maybe not a 5, but if he rolls a 6, most 6s, let's just say that we can see, and if you can't, it doesn't matter, but let's just assume that we know our opponent will use a 6 to make the 7 point. Then, what am I actually saying here? Then, shit, I'm not really sure what I'm saying. Does anyone know what I'm saying? Then we will, I'll get there. I guess I'm saying that if even if he doesn't make it, or if he does, we end up with like these stacks if we do this, and we don't have enough landing spots, and we have dice rolls that are liable to leave shots in the future. So if we notice that, and then again we're going back to how can we create a position that we can bring home, then we can see that maybe doing something like this can make it slightly easier, because if we do this, we hit on the 1 point, which is a standard thing. Someone's written something. We knock him off. The deepest point, and hopefully he won't hit us, and he'll come in. He'll come in higher, and it will just give us a little bit of leeway, because we'll be able to play a 5 behind him without having to risk leaving a shot. I'm not really saying much that's cogent about position, but let's go back to the start. I think what we've identified is that we are trying to identify in these positions whether it's worth us trying to restrict the danger of the position now by leaving a shot, and thereby creating a more flexible, easier to bring home position in the future, than just playing safe now. And I think you can guess that I don't think I see anything other than this play. I mean, I don't know how long the delay is. Maybe I'll leave you guys enough time to Tim says, make that 6 not work that way. Yes. Right. Again, I'm not really sure if he wants to make the now, but I guess it's okay not to be 100% sure if he will make the 18 point with a 7, but with a 6. So you can't do much in this position, but you can make it slightly safer in the long term. So perhaps this is the right play. Maybe this was obvious. And I think, okay, it's just, I don't know why it crashes like this. 13-8, 10-6 was close. It's hard to really get a sense of what that minus 0.036 really means, because it feels like it was a big difference, but it's hard to know whether that number holds, as in whether it really points to something, or whether it's because you're in an okay position either way. Okay, so this is a strange, I'm not actually seeing why this position is in there. It doesn't seem like there's anything that needs to be decided. And in fact, it's nice to have a position like this that's easy to talk about. And it's easy to talk about because we can see that we're just waiting on the 18 point to hit a shot. And therefore, if we are, we're going to try and build our board up as quickly as possible. Maybe that means we play the 5 to the 3 point to try and make 2 points quickly. I didn't see it initially, but in either way, if that's the case, it's a small detail, I would say. Definitely, we're going to play 6 to 5 with the 1. I actually don't care whether or not we make the 3 point here. I mean, our winning chances are really low anyway. 1, because we have to hit the shot if and when we get it, and even when we do get it, our opponent's got like a really good board, and we're not going to have much better than a 3 point board, or maybe a 4 point board, and our opponent can still just win. Rat trap logged out. Okay, So that's interesting. Sometimes it has positions. So I mean, maybe it is this trying to, if you roll a 3-1, you are going to have numbers immediately that make 2 points, like 3-1, 5-3, 5-1, double three, blah de blah. But it probably is the right play, but oh, it's not. Okay, so this position is in there because the person that played Layla, made that play, which is like makes some sort of sense. So where are we? We're in the same boat. I mean, again, to resist the temptation. Now, I guess I'm getting into it. My eyes getting it, but there's one play that immediately screams out, and that's not helpful because that relies on just sort of pattern recognition, and you can't teach that, and that's not valuable for me to say to you guys in a stream. What's valuable is for me to point out what you can understand and learn. So without immediately, I mean, guess what play I'm thinking of? If you'll indulge me, just write in the chat what the play is that I think I should be playing. But as far as the position is concerned, again, it's just a relief to be able to talk about a simple enough position which illustrates stuff. So we were trying to make the 7-point. We couldn't. We're only trying to make the 7-point, not just because it's like nice or because it's mandatory or because it's pretty. None of those reasons. Why? Because it's a landing spot, and it's important to have landing spots when you're trying to bring your checkers around, because the checkers will be able to land on them, and if they can land on them, then you're not going to get they're not going to get hit. So we're then that it becomes very clear what the parameters of the position are there, or the dichotomy is: do we leave the checker on the 7-point, so that we can make the stepping stone next go or upcoming goes, or do we adjudge that it's too dangerous to do so and give up the possibility almost forever of making that stepping stone? Now, I guess it doesn't matter what your conclusion is, because that's not the point. That's that you have to do that, but it's about, again, the stream is about enunciating the what's at stake. So did anyone know? No one wrote in the chat. Okay, so my play that immediately screamed out was actually to play 2013. So I judge personally, just by looking at the position very quickly, that I can easily just leave the checker there because it's so valuable to me to keep the stepping stone and to make the bar. Sorry, I should have said that checker on the 24-point is still on the 24-point and might always be there. And why would the midpoint be important to have in this position? It's not important to have at all. It's just that I maintain the possibility of making the 7-point with the 6. If I take the checker off the 7-point and put it on the 4-point, I can no longer make the 7-point. So I'm not making the midpoint. I don't care about the midpoint at all. The checker just happens to be on the midpoint. And so it's important for me, I feel, to make the 7-point. And then I ask myself, well, how dangerous is it to try to do that? Well, it's not that dangerous because if I get hit, if you look, like, if I get hit here, like, of course my opponent's got a block, when that's a factor that makes it easier for me to be hit. But if I get hit, I've only got one blot, and even if I fan for lots of times, I haven't really lost anything. Plus my opponent might, it looks like, oh, shouldn't leave a double shot, but the 2 that he has to hit with means that he has to leave the anchor, and that's not very good for him. So hopefully, again, I've enunciated what is going on. I've used the position to a position to illustrate what's going on in a generality of positions. So I again, for fear, like I'm always worried I'm going to be wrong. I'm 2-0 up, so maybe I need to be a bit careful. But I would probably just do this 2013. Okay, and it's again, it's like I did see 2016 7-4. So the 34 is that. Does it mean it's close? In a way, not, because it's just wrong. It's sort of conceptually wrong to make that 2016 7-4. So Tim says, if opponent fails to roll 6 this roll, making 7 makes many of his future 6s very awkward. Yes, is that true? So, but if we play something else, yes, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. If the spare of the 6 was on the 1 point, no, we're not, because it shows that but the analysis shows that Andre, that it's probably too. The fact that the analysis is so close shows us that when the blot on the 1 point is covered, it's probably just a bit too risky to try and go for the 7 point. But it just, you see, even as I talk about it, it makes the game that little bit easier, that we're not in a fog. We're like, okay, so this is what's going on in the position. Can we do it or can't we? We have a beacon. We have some sort of destination. If the destination's wrong, it doesn't matter so much. We need a destination, I feel, as humans. We can't just... The computer doesn't need a destination. It just sort of... I don't believe it does. Anyway, it's not working. What I'm going to do... I'm quite enjoying myself here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to doubling positions, if I can. Because those are the things that people actually... I don't know what's going on, that people struggle with. And it's very hard to teach. Yeah, the site is like... So let's see, can we come up with some random... Don't know what's happening. Okay, fine. So actually kind of a holding game position, although it says blitzing game. So this is going on to cube action. We are going to have to look at the score, but the score is a bit, not a misnomer, but we'd prefer it if the score was always 0-0 to 11 or just in a money game, but it's not, which is annoying. So how do we make doubling decisions? Do I want to make this so broad? It's going to be a bit too broad, maybe. Okay, well, let's see how it works. So the first thing I always look at is the race. Always, always, always. We're 8 pips up. Which is on 143, which is, it's something, but it's not enormous. And then when I'm on the doubling side, what I look at is I look at my propensity for attacking my opponent. So we look at these checkers on the 1 and the 2 point, and we can see that he is liable to being attacked. Now, often I see this all the time, quite strong players, not amazingly strong players, they completely underestimate or they overestimate the attack you need to be able to double. Now, when we're doubling, we don't need for all our rolls to be winning the game. We just need to have like I know John O'Hagan talks about 9, which is probably right. But let's just say we just need a few. Let's give ourselves like a chance to count like 3, 4 good rolls. Now, when I say 4, if those rolls are like really powerful for us, we might only need 3 or 4 good rolls. So in the current situation, what I look at is if I roll 6-4, if I roll 3-3, if I roll 6-6, if I roll 4-1, maybe if I roll 6-5. So maybe we're already like exceeding our budget by a huge amount. We've got like, not only have we got quite a few very good rolls, the rolls are made even stronger by the fact we look at our opponent's board and we see he's got no board, but we see that he's basically got no defense whatsoever. He's got 6 checkers on his 8 point and nothing else really. He's got like a strip midpoint. So that will, in effect, in simple terms, like uplift the immediate danger to him of our good rolls. So of course, in other words, if he had like the 4 point, we could then downgrade the value of our 6-4, because the fact that he has the 4 point means that it's not so powerful for us. So this is quite an extreme position for our opponent, in the sense that anything that we roll becomes like almost defenseless for him. And then you can then say that, I mean, everyone, I'd invite everyone to have their own way of, what's the word, of parsing, P-A-R-S-E, of understanding, taking the data and making sense of it. But in my world, what I do is I just see that, okay, well, if I roll pretty much any of these good rolls, my opponent's dead. So now as I talk, I'm like, of course it's, I don't know why it's doing that, definitely good enough to double. And it might, so it's not going to be in the no double take territory, but it could be anything above that for the start. Now, it's definitely good enough to double, and it could very well be in double pass territory. But for what it's worth, I'm looking at that. I'm doing that from Black's perspective, from the doubler's perspective. So without being able to, can we move the board around? Maybe. I don't know if we can. Can we swap board? I assume we can, but I don't know how, and I can't build it. Okay. So imagine if we're white then. How do I then just do the other part of the decision? So I get doubled. How do I decide? Well, I guess I do the same. I engage in the same process, but in reverse. It is going to be hard doing it upside down. So maybe, if it makes sense, we'll try and work out our opponent's cube action, whether he should take a pass, just from looking at our position, which is sometimes how you do it. So we've talked about how many rolls you need to double, and then if it gets any better than that, if it gets much better than those 4 or 5, 6 or 7, 8, 9 good rolls, and your opponent has got no defense, then maybe you're getting into double pass territory. That's literally the only way you can. There's no more scientific way, apart from getting XG out and putting it in, of knowing what to do with the take pass decision. We notice, of course, another thing we need to notice is, in our attack, have we got an anchor? And what's going on? have we got an anchor so that if we hit our opponent and we get hit back, then there's really no possibility of being wiped out or the game like turning around so quickly, because whatever happens, we just, whatever amazing roll our opponent can roll, like double one, double three, we still have the anchor to fall back on. Or if we conceivably, let's just assume theoretically that we don't get to roll, we lose our roll. Someone waves like a stick and we lose our ability to roll. Well, our opponent can't do anything to us because we've got that anchor. So that is another huge factor, or another factor. So after like all like, looking at this, the last thing I would look at is the score and see that I'm 6 away and my opponent's 7 away. 6 away, 7 away is going to behave pretty much like 7 away, 7 away. A little bit less active. Oh, look, I've got the things back. That's stupid, the arrows, which haven't worked at all. So it's going to behave pretty much in the same way. Oh dear, please don't do this. What a nightmare. Yeah, exit, get rid of that. So the score makes a tiny difference. It incentivizes. I'm incentivized to cube a tiny bit later than I would at 7 away, 7 away. A tiny bit in gammonish positions, of which this is one. So this is certainly, now I'm going to say certainly a pass. And I'm yeah, I guess it could never be too good, because it's a hard one to answer on its own. But in order for something to be too good, it's almost like the threat already needs to have been executed. So, or in other words, you could say that there are some dice rolls which do not do anything for black, and if those are rolled, then white gets back in the game. And on that basis, and it's not always the case, it wouldn't be too good to double. So one of those dice rolls might be like 3-1 or 2-1. If black rolls 2-1, white has some dice rolls which are going to give him a foothold in the game. And because that's a possibility, it's almost certainly not worth going for not doubling to try and win 2 points. So I would say this is a pass. Okay, and after all that talk, it's close to being too good, but it is a very big pass. I really hate the fact that only 4 people are watching it. I mean, I hate to say this, but I feel that this should get so... I'm going to say it. Fuck it. Fuck you. This should get so many more watchers. I have had... whatever. I feel ashamed to say it, but I know it's not always extremely adequately expressed, but, whatever. Doing it for free as well. So those, you beautiful people that are watching, okay, someone's left. He can fuck himself. So that was like how I would approach one of these. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. Yeah, I just don't. Honestly, I'm sorry I don't understand. Someone tell me if I got like a big gap, a hole in my head that I don't understand why people are not watching. It's dispiriting, like, to see 3 people on the stream after doing lots of streams and wondering and like thinking it doesn't matter, like people aren't watching. It's like, it does. I don't know. Any feedback? Any feedback is welcome. So again, similar thing. I mean, these are all blitzing games, so that's fine. Like good positions to analyze. We are when we consider doubling. Again, we're looking at just having one, two, three, four, usually like four good dice rolls, and we need to be. It goes without saying, we kind of need to be able to know how what the position is going to look like after we roll those rolls, and that means we're going to have to kind of know how to play those dice rolls. That's often a tricky one for people because they don't want to. It's a weird thing. They don't want to admit to themselves that they can't quite visualize. I've had lots of students, and I can see that they struggle with it, but it's not something that they want to immediately admit to themselves. But anyway, on the positive note, we've identified a way of doing it. Yeah, I know that, but it's like, doesn't. Thank you, Tim, but I don't understand why even with I've got even with no notice, there's people that should get like 20 watchers for sure. Maybe it's just because in my mind I sort of don't really admit that that's the case. So the universe, you should be watching this. Not more than about 20, but there should be about 20 people watching. As long as I don't, you know, there's some polishing I could do, and expressing the stuff can be quite tricky. But anyway, there you go. So we're looking for like 3, 4 good dice rolls again. So what do we have here? We've got 6, 4. We've got 4, 1. We've got 6, 1. We've got double 3. We've got double 6. I mean, how many is that? That's already loads. Plus we've got 3, 5, and 6, 2 that hit on the outside. So we're already hitting like 8, 9, 10 dice rolls. We've got the same scenario that we had before. We've got our opponent with no defense whatsoever. Mop Up thinks this is a double take. Our opponent's like basically got hardly anything better than he did in the previous position. I'll give you one kind of tip, or it's not really a tip. Having the bar is nice, but having the bar, people can overvalue the presence of the bar. The bar, to me, doesn't really prevent me from like wiping my opponent out. Why? Because what's really going to put a thorn in my side and give my opponent defense is inner board points. The bar is not going to be difficult to jump over once I've attacked. So what my opponent really needs, of course, is the 5 point or the 4 point or 3 point. That's really nice, Tim. I don't know why at the moment it seems appropriate just to admit, or I feel now that it's okay for me to admit that I do feel a bit like there've been a number of streams recently where I've only had like 7 people, and it's like I kind of am willing to know why. Not that there's like some big thing, I do believe it's not like 100 person. Anyway, whatever. You get my point. But thank you. So we go back to this same. How many dice rolls plus? Then looking. So we didn't look at the race to start off with. Always look at the race. 13 pips up on 150. That's pretty significant. So that was a little bit slapdash of me, but the race, maybe sometimes you see something intuitively already, and so you don't automatically process it, but you don't consciously process it. But I would always encourage people to consciously process the information. That's why it's very important to be able to pip count over the board, like so you can just know, like, okay, this is a pip count. This is a pip count. For what it's worth, I can take that information and use it responsibly or irresponsibly. Anyway, so no defense, even more dice rolls than than the last, like, double four we didn't consider. So we're almost looking at what dice rolls are not good. It's kind of similar to the last go. Like 2-1 is not so great. 3-1 makes a 10 point, but it's not that it's not that thrusting or forcing. The making a 10 point is not what's going to give you your equity, your winning chances in the position. Again, in looking at these positions, we're looking at the attack, the double, the threats, and they are blitzing positions, but a lot of positions have blitzing elements in them. So a lot of reasons for doubling a position is because of the attack. And I have a student who's really good at just seeing the threat, and he will always double a position, even though he's not like a supreme world-class player, but he understands that that's what's at stake in these positions. So, and then I'm trying to see if there's anything else we can look at. But anyway, the last thing and always must look at is the score. 7 away, 4 away. You might have known that I wrote a little book on that. 7 away, 4 away is I think, can't remember the categories because it's been a while. So from highest to lowest, highest being the most active, which would be 4 away, 2 away. 7 away, 4 away, I think is in yellow, which is level 3. Level 6 is red, that's the most active. Level 5 is purple, level 4 is orange, level 3 is yellow. So level 3 is not level 6, but it's still quite high in this Gaminish position. So that makes a difference. So what would be like, maybe if this was a borderline take at 7 away, 7 away, this would be maybe 150 pass at this score, 7 away, 4 away. So I don't think this is a take at 7 away, 7 away in any event. So I would imagine this is a fairly big pass. And then this is where it gets tricky, and I can't really, again, I alluded to it. How do you then just make sure you're just topping and tailing, that it's not too good to double pass? And again, it's about like kind of whether or not you've executed your threats already, and you're already following up. In other words, it's like pretty much one of the parameters is pretty much whatever you do and whatever your opponent does, next go you'll be able to double him out and double him into a pass. And I don't think that's going to be the position here, because there are some dice rolls which leave your opponent alone and thereby allow your opponent to establish a more tenable position. So I guess we're going to go with double pass. Although it does look very dodgy for white. Okay, we're kind of way off. It is a pass, but it's only a small pass. Can we get to maybe try some slightly different cube positions? Maybe, because it's hard to know. This is like one of those. Okay, these ones are a bit annoying. I don't know if this is, so these ones here about you have one shot, but you're, oh, no. Okay, let's just say, excuse me, no. Okay, these positions don't come up too much. Basically, it's a race, and our opponent, let's say, has just run with a 5-4, and he's skedaddled for it, but he's down in the race, but that's his best chance of winning. And now we've got, I don't like this position because there's a score bias to it anyway. And now we've got a shot to hit him. Usually we're not in such a good position, but here, this is one of those positions where our race lead is quite significant, and we've got a shot. Usually, we're looking at positions where our race lead is not very significant, but we're asking ourselves, if we hit, is the race lead enough to justify a double? I don't really know if it's wasting time over these positions, but pretty much if we're 9 pips up and we haven't got a shot, um, and we're 2 away, 3 away, but maybe the value of this, I didn't want to go into this, is score. So this is a very tricky score, and I haven't got my head around it. But basically, we need to know that the take point is just under 25%. What that means is that, to try and simplify, if you get to a position where you're past the point that your opponent can take at, and what I mean is that you've got more than 75%, then it becomes very bad for your opponent to take. But if you're approaching that, or you're shy of that 75% by quite a big margin, it becomes not so good for you to double, because your opponent can just redouble you. But that shouldn't deter us from just being aware of when if we have more than 75%, our opponent cannot take. And here, because we're 9 pips up, and we've also got a shot, so we've got everything going for us. There's no downside to our position. If we don't hit, we're just going to have adequate time to clear. Plus, our opponent has like gaps. His position isn't very good. It seems like our opponent just simply cannot take this position. So I would say that he has to pass. It seems pretty clear. Let me just check that. I mean, maybe I'm not 100% sure, but it's along those lines that we can definitely double. And whether or not he can take, I would be uncomfortable about taking in his position. Okay, it's a huge pass. I mean, it's because when you don't have, like I said, when you don't have the that 25%, I'm not so good at maths, but it becomes basically you're losing for every percent that you don't have, you're just losing so much. So for all the percentages that you're behind that 25% take point, you're losing a huge amount of match winning chances. Yeah, I don't know where to take the streams. Like 3 of you guys who are. What's that? I don't get it either, because I know in discussion with others at tournaments, your name is often heard among the better players. Yeah. So, okay, this is a specific. Let's see what we get. Power primes. Okay. Okay, yeah, we can go with these. So again, what we've got when we were talking about those holding games, we've got that same holding game feature. So we can ignore the fact to an extent for the moment that we've got a lovely 5 prime. What we need to do is get our checkers round from the 18 point, and we haven't done that yet. Therefore, then the next port of call is to say to ourselves, what's the consequence of having the 5 prime? Is it big or not? Now, I don't know how much value that adds to the equation or to the discussion, but I feel it does. The reason I feel that adds value is because I can see I'm 15 pips up in the race, and even without having the 7 point, I'm quite happy with my position. I feel I've got some time to clear the 18 point once I know that that's my objective. So anyway, that I find is helpful. Once I know that, I know that the fact that I've got the 7 point is a big boon, and so this checker on the 13 point is a more concrete feature of the position. He's unsafe, he's vulnerable. Almost all the time he's going to get safe, unless I roll double 1, double 4, 2 1, double 2, 3 1. I mean, if I roll a 3 1, it's not a disaster. So that checker's going to get safe. I've got chances of making an extra point in board. A chance of fuck, I can't think. of extending the 5 prime to a 6 prime, and after which I'll pretty much have won, but not for sure. So on that basis, like looking to see how position will develop, it seems like they've got every chance of winning the game, and on that basis, I would double. As far as the take pass is concerned, what am I looking for? Is why I'm looking for like enough scenarios, observable, like tenable, like things that can happen in the game, which will give allow me to win as white. So how can I win as white? Well, I think it's quite obvious. We're going to make our board, and then we can play with these checkers on the 9, on the 16 point, and we can move them. We'll be able to move them without leaving direct shots. And then eventually, by which time Black might have to break his 18 point and leave a shot, and then we can hit the shot and then hop out from the prime. Another way of winning is that even, Black rolls 5-1, plays 13-7, and then White rolls a 2. Okay. It's not like amazing, but it means that Black will have to hit loose. And maybe that's not great for White, but it's just another way of turning the game around. And that's obviously a feature of primes, when the opponent will try and come to the edge of the prime, and it's about assessing how likely it is that how likely it is that lost the train of thought, but never mind. Okay, so on balance, yeah, it's really hard to really pinpoint it. So it's that coming up with the 2. It's combined, I guess, with the chances of Black having to leave a shot with the 18 point. It combined with the fact that White's board is okay. The only liability is the checker on the 2 point is too far advanced. I would probably be comfortable enough taking, combined with the fact that Black might not get the checker safe immediately. I don't love the take, I have to say, but I think I would probably take. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay, it's not. No, it's not. What's going on? Oh, it's a massive pass. Okay, so I completely misanalyzed that one. Okay. Maybe it's because the checker on the 23 point is so bad, but I guess the size of the pass wouldn't make a huge enough of a difference. I feel like doing some more. So what have we got here? Like, it looks crushing. Let's just cut to the chase. So he's on the 2 point, and now we can cover our 2 point with a 2, but we can also probably, well, we'll certainly cover with a 5-1. And even if we don't cover, we're fine. So it looks like it's too good to start with. Why did I not start talking about the general principles of position? Because I guess it's a resolved position, and what I mean by that is all the checkers are basically in our board, and all our opponent's checkers are either in our board or in his board. So it's much clearer to see what's happening. In some ways, you can't really illustrate the general principles. It's just too obvious what's happening. You can't really say much about it. It's just about looking at individual dice rolls just to check if there's anything which would make it too dangerous for us to play on. and um, and when we look at the score as well, we're behind, so we just incentivized to win more. I cannot see. I'm just trying to say sensible things more than anything. Just it doesn't add any value just to give an opinion. So, yeah, if our opponent, if for any, let's say our opponent had to roll now, we didn't get a roll, he's still like completely screwed. I mean, if he rolls a 1, he rolls a 3-1. It's a good roll for him. So he's going to come in and hit. He's going to hit him board. I mean, where is he? And that's with him rolling first. So the fact that we can roll is never ever bad for us. Like there's nothing that's really bad. Like double 3 doesn't come out, but it can switch and make the point. So I don't see anything that. Yeah, okay, it's too good by player did double pass. Okay, too good by a small margin. Tim, where are you from? I never worked out. It seems like you're from the US because I don't recall your name at any UK tournaments. Okay, this is, I don't know why this is in Power Primes. This is like a late hit position. Okay. Oh, it's good to know. Okay. From Toronto. So these are, again, this is like a thing. Uh, 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 I mean, backgammon's a really annoying thing because you have these like side categories, and this is one of them, which isn't um, necessarily relatable to other positions. You just have to analyze. It's like end games in chess. You just have to look. You just have to know things about the position itself. So in doing this, we're not really learning anything about backgammon in general, if that makes sense. But I'll just go. I'll go through these positions. I'm not amazing at them at the moment. I used to be a bit better. I used to remember all the reference positions. Like when our opponent has 6 checkers off. So the question is, does he have 6 or 5 off? Basically, we've got our closed board, or it's fine. We've got our 6 prime. Assume it's going to be a closed board. There's not too much of a difference between them. There is and there isn't. So we're looking to see if our opponent has 6 or 5 checkers off. If he's only got 5 checkers off, then we're good. And we can like double and he might have to pass, blah, blah, blah. If he's got 6 checkers off, then it makes a huge difference to his winning chances. That's the first thing. The second thing is, where are his checkers? So if he's got a gap on the 1 point and he doesn't, then when he eventually gets his checker out and round, he's not going to be able to bear off when he rolls the number that he has when he rolls the number where there are no checkers. Like here, he's got no gap, but he's got like a big stack on the 2 point. So you can see that if he rolls one more than a 1-1, he's going to miss, and that will affect the number of rolls he needs to take all his checkers off in. So he's got 6 off, so he's good because he's got more than 5. That's the big simplification. But he's got the gap, and also I should say he's got the chance of we can actually pick this checker up if we hit and he hits back and we hit him back. So we need to hit, he needs to hit back, we need to hit him back. It's not actually as likely as people think. But it's annoying to have to face that as white. And then, of course, this is the thing I don't like, the score factor. So if we're down 3-1, it's very simple and it's a redouble. Our opponent's take point is... well, he can pass and the score can be 3-all, or he can take and Oh shit, my brain is not working. If he takes, he's going to be like have 32%. So he can risk 18 to gain 50. So it's 18 over 68. I hate doing these like annoying calculations that like because it sounds like I'm just garbling rubbish, but it is important. So 80. Let's assume I'm right. 18 over 68 is roughly 27%. Doesn't ring a bell, but let's say because um, White's take point is way higher than normal, then it makes a huge difference. The score is making a huge difference to the take, and White here probably, may if he's got like 23, he certainly can't take if he needs 27%. So I agree that this must be a pass. But the score. This is one of the reasons I don't like these problems, because there shouldn't be a score factor. And if we look at the 21%, that would be fine, and like we can start thinking about taking in a normal money game and a redouble. So that was nice. Yeah, how do I approximate 1868 in your head? So the reason I sort of a little bit is because I'm not sure if the explanation is I can explain it well enough, but let me try. So Andre, you need to know match equities. Oh God, I need to go back to that. If we can remember that in that position, we had 1 and our opponent had 3, and the match was to 7, and we were holding a 2 cube. Therefore, what we are asking ourselves is, what will the score be from our point of view as the taker or passer if we take or if we pass? The division. Right, thank you. Yeah, so I just know that 18 over 72 is 4 times, so that will be 25%. I know therefore that 18 over 68 will be, and I could be more precise about this, but I'm lazy. But all I know is that that will be more than 25%. So I know 18 over 72. No, Andre's right. Andre's right. I didn't understand the question. Absolutely. Absolutely. 18 over 68 is, but you can work out, like, I don't think it's that difficult to there would be a common denominator for 68, or there might be a way that you can, what's the word? So 68 is obviously a difficult denominator to work with, but 68, so at some point, let's say we get 680, then we can divide that by 68 to get to 100. So we could try and divide 180 by 68, I guess. And 180 by 68, we could also do some sort of approximation, but 180 divided by 70, it's all these like things that if you get more comfortable with, but yeah, I've had students. I think people don't really mental arithmetic. People kind of don't. What am I doing? We're doing some more cube quiz. They don't really learn it that well as kids, and yeah, I'm not sure. People struggle with it. Okay. Um, Risky redoubles. Yeah, I mean, this is going from the positions we were looking at before. What you notice is, or what I notice is, when the position is more resolved, like this is, so almost all the checkers are in the home boards, then the feel of the position is completely different, and it comes down to the margin for error. Let's say that first of all is much smaller. So therefore, if you misinterpret the position, you can make a huge mistake, which is why I preferred to look at the positions where the positions are early game positions, because you can understand the position and the principles very well, and when you do, you're not going to make a huge mistake in the actual analysis of a position or get the answer completely wrong. But here you can still understand it kind of quite well, but get the answer like way off, because basically when you both have very strong boards, it makes a huge difference to the immediate upcoming scenarios. Like not coming in versus coming in is massive. So Tim doesn't think it's a redouble. Okay, well, what am I thinking about this? Maybe in some ways these are easier. So our opponent's on the bar, and we just need to escape. And in order to escape, we just need a 4 or a 6, and then we can like bring a little bit of. We know that rolling a 4 or 6 is 20 and 36. So that's happens over half. And if we don't roll a 4 or a 6, what's happening? We're okay. Our opponent's still on the bar, so he might not come in. So on balance, we're doing, if we can roll a 4 or a 6 and just win, or if we can not roll a 4 and a 6 and just be okay, we're doing fine. And then we can see that there's another checker out there, and if we roll a 4 or a 6, we can certainly pick that up and gammon him, and that's going to be painful for him. So I definitely don't agree with the no redouble. I just don't feel confident, but these are tricky. But like I would certainly redouble. I don't know whether white can take. So there's definitely, like, you have to look at actual sequences. So you have to say like, well, black can roll 1 2 2 1 3 2 double 2 double 1. I don't know why I can't do them all. 5 1, and then white can just roll an immediate 2 3 2 2 2 5 and hit this back. So if we don't come out and white hits us back, then you can say without really having a clue what the percentages are that white is maybe like almost even money, and then you just go back a step and say, well, how likely is it that you don't come out and white rolls one of those numbers? Well, it's like 20 and 30, so 16 and 36 that we don't come out, times maybe there are 10 12 numbers that, let's say it's 10 numbers that come in and hit us, so that's 160. I don't want to get too complicated over 1296, but that's maybe what I would do if I was really trying to be precise. And 160 over 1296 is whatever it is, like 14%. So 14% of the time he's winning 50% of the time. So maybe he's winning 8-9% of games maximum when he doesn't come out. And then you say to yourself, well, when else can he win? Well, he can win when we come out. He can still win. So maybe he wins like 7-8% when that happens. And then I'm missing something, obviously, because he clearly wins more than, imagine he wins more than 16%. But that's the kind of, it's the kind of thing you're looking at. But like, it doesn't look good for white if that's the case. And the only real thing in white's favour is the race, but and the fact that black probably won't. I wonder what the likelihood in this position of picking up that checker is. XG can't tell you that, but it's probably, I don't know, 40, maximum 40%. I wouldn't say it's 50-50. And the score, 0-1, incentivized to cube a bit more for sure. You know, white just goes 2-1 down as opposed to like maybe being 6-1 down in a freak backgammon. So like the only thing again in white's favor is the fours are duplicated for black, just in some extent. Double 5, things that don't come out but kind of have a crunchy effect, but yeah, I don't like it. And then I don't think it's too good. So it's not a pass. Or is it? Don't like. I think it's a pass. No, it's not. Okay, it's not letting me click. It's like, I think it's not a pass then. This is the bug. It kind of gives it away. You can sort of somehow, I don't know how, you can tell when it doesn't let you click, it's not the right answer. But I think I'm gonna. What happens? It's it was the right answer because it didn't get the analysis, so it was a redouble pass. And then these are like the same, like these endgame positions. They don't illustrate general principles very well. It's really just a matter of counting, which I didn't want to do in this stream. But you know, like, am I going to roll a 3 or a 5? Plus versus, if I don't roll a 3 or a 5, where am I? Well, I'm okay. He's still got to come out. Although I'm aware I don't want to like, you know. So he's Laura Monaco, who I think I've played Monte Carlo, in fact, ironically, Laura. She's got to check her off, so we can't gammon her. That reduces her danger massively. Again, we have this annoying score scenario, and it's a redouble. I guess it would always be a redouble at this stage, but 6 away, 6 away. Probably not something that you want to take and get gammoned on when your opponent's 6 away, when you can just go pass and be 4 away. You can be 6 away, 4 away. So yeah, just to stop babbling, like what I'm looking at is basically, my first question is not the obvious, like, what do I need to win? Oh, I need to roll a 5 or a 3. It's basically what happens if I don't roll one of the 5s or the 3s. Well, I can just roll a 6. So there are going to be, what, 7 numbers that are going to involve a 6. Well, let's say 6 numbers, because one of those numbers will be a double 6, which is pretty fucking good. But there'll be 6 numbers that are 6 that aren't 5 or 3. So 6, 4, 6, 2, 6, 1. Where am I if I roll those? Well, she's got to like come out, and then she's got to like kind of safety the other blocks as well. So she's just not doing very well, it seems like. And then, of course, there's always I just always remember this was like, Falafel used to always talk about, what if you fans? What if you know, yeah. So we cannot come in, but of course, that's the best possible thing that can happen for white. And if she doesn't come in, then if we don't come in, we're still fine. Like, she can still roll like, I don't know, double 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, still leaving 2 blots. So my problem going with these positions is I don't know why the right answer is the right answer. Well, that's what I'm trying to. That shows you how ineffective these streams are. But that's what I'm trying to do. Is it not helping you at all? No? What do you mean have I misinterpreted? There's no, the answer is to that is we never know why we never know the right answer, but we have to give ourselves an anchor and give ourselves something that we can ground ourselves in that will help us analyze the position, you know, like so anyway, as far in conclusion, yeah, we got 2 on the bar, but those 2 blots are gonna really be deadly. I don't know what that. Yeah, that's. I mean, yeah. So I think I would. I think I would just pass as white. Yeah, yeah, I get that. Okay, so I'll take that as a. Um, yeah, I'm just not pressing because I don't want to be wrong, but I would pass. Okay, it's not even close. Um, I'm gonna leave the stream there. This is the last time you'll ever see me stream. What was it that Danya said? This chess streamer, he said something. It was like interpreted as very chilling, but I don't think it's conclusive that it meant that he was going to kill himself. But I'm not going to kill myself, or I might. I don't know. So thank you guys for watching. I enjoyed it. And see you soon, maybe. Bye.